The box with my office things felt heavier than it should have. A coffee mug, a notebook, 2 framed sketches, and a name badge rested inside like proof that 5 years of hard work could disappear in one afternoon. Rain tapped against my jacket while I stood outside our apartment building. I kept telling myself one thing. Just get inside. Claire will be there. She'll make this day hurt a little less. That hope carried me through the front door. The apartment smelled like garlic and roasted chicken. Dinner sat neatly on the dining table. Steam was already gone. Cold, just like the room. Claire stood near the kitchen island in a navy dress, one hand moving across her laptop while the other held her phone against her ear. Her voice was calm. Move tomorrow's meeting to 8. No, 8:30 works better. She nodded while typing. I waited. She ended the call, barely lifting her eyes. Oh, you're home. No smile. No hug. Just 2 ordinary words. My fingers tightened around the box. I lost my job. The company fired me. Her hands never stopped moving over the keyboard. What happened? The question sounded automatic, like asking about the weather. I set the box beside the couch. They blamed Lily for leaking client files. Claire finally glanced up. Lily, the new designer. A short nod. I knew she didn't do it. I walked closer, so I spoke up. Claire clicked another email. And they wanted someone to take the blame. My throat felt dry. When I refused to stay quiet, they let both of us go. Nothing. Not even surprise. She opened another document. That's unfortunate. Those 2 words landed harder than getting fired. I laughed once. Not because anything was funny. Because my brain refused to believe that was all she had. Unfortunate. She reached for her makeup bag. What else do you want me to call it? I don't know. I spread my hands. Maybe unfair. Maybe ask if I'm okay. She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. I assumed you were. I just lost everything. You'll find another job. So that's it. Claire zipped her makeup case. Ethan, I have a dinner with senior executives in an hour. Her eyes drifted toward the clock. I really can't be emotionally exhausted before tonight. The words floated through the room. Soft, polite, sharp enough to cut through me anyway. I stared at her. For a moment, I honestly wondered if she understood what she had just said. I wasn't asking you to fix it. She slipped on a bracelet. I just wanted you to be here. I'm here. No. The word escaped before I could stop it. Your body is. Her attention returned to another message. The phone buzzed again. She answered immediately. Victor, don't worry. I'll bring the presentation. Her voice changed. Warmer, lighter, almost cheerful. I stood only a few feet away. It felt like miles. When the call ended, she noticed the untouched dinner. I made food. I know. Eat before it gets colder. I looked at the plate. It already is. She didn't catch what I meant. Or maybe she did. Maybe she simply chose not to. My phone vibrated. 3 unread messages. Noah. How did it go? Another. Call me. Then another. I'm outside if you need me. I locked the screen without answering. The person I wanted wasn't outside. She was standing right in front of me. Yet somehow she felt farther away than anyone else. Claire walked into the bedroom. I'll be ready in 10 minutes. I followed. Our rent. She paused near the mirror. What about it? I don't have a paycheck anymore. We have savings. My savings. She adjusted an earring. That single word should have comforted me. Instead, it sounded like something people said out of habit. Not love. I sat on the edge of the bed. Are you scared? She blinked. About what? About us. A long pause. She picked up a bottle of perfume. I'm focused on getting through this quarter. I didn't ask about work. Another spray. I asked about us. You worry too much. The answer floated away with the perfume. No promise. No reassurance. Nothing to hold on to. She walked past me. Please don't start something tonight. I didn't start anything. I know today was hard. She slipped into high heels. But I really need this dinner. My voice dropped. I needed you. She froze for half a second. Only half. Then she grabbed her purse. I'll make it up to you this weekend. You've been saying that for months. I mean it. You always do. Neither of us moved. The space between us felt crowded with every conversation we never finished. Finally, she reached for the door. Eat dinner. The lock clicked behind her. I stayed where I was. The apartment suddenly sounded enormous. The refrigerator hummed. Cars passed outside. My heartbeat refused to slow down. I walked back to the table. The chicken had dried around the edges. The vegetables looked pale. I picked up the fork, put back down. No appetite, only exhaustion. Across the room, our framed photos sat on the bookshelf. The picture came from a beach trip 2 years earlier. Claire laughed into the camera while I wrapped my arm around her. Now the frame leaned sideways, crooked. I couldn't remember when it happened. Neither of us had bothered to straighten it. Somehow that hurt more than seeing it broken. I fixed the frame with one finger. It still looked wrong. Maybe pictures could stand straight, while relationships quietly leaned toward collapse. The thought wouldn't leave me. My phone lit up again. Noah. I finally answered. You free? His voice softened immediately. You sound awful. I am. You want me to come over? I looked around the empty apartment. No. You sure? I'm tired. A pause settled between us. You defended someone who couldn't defend herself. I know. You'd do it again. Another pause. Yeah. They fired the wrong man. I smiled without feeling happy. Thanks. Call me tomorrow. I will. After hanging up, I stretched out on the couch. I didn't remember closing my eyes. Sleep found me anyway. Hours later, something woke me. The television glowed without sound. A pale light spilled across the living room. Claire had come home. She lay asleep on the couch, still wearing her business clothes. Her laptop rested on her knees. The screen hadn't gone dark. I stood quietly and reached over to close it. An email filled the display. Congratulations, Claire Bennett. We are pleased to confirm your promotion to Regional Strategy Director in Chicago. Relocation begins next month. My hand stopped in midair. Chicago. Next month. She had accepted. She had never told me. The room suddenly felt colder than the untouched dinner waiting on the table. Chicago. The word stayed in my head long after I closed Claire's laptop. I didn't wake her. There was nothing to gain from an argument at 2 in the morning. Instead, I covered her with the blanket hanging over the couch. Old habits were hard to break. Even after finding out she had planned a new life without telling me, part of me still wanted to make sure she didn't wake up cold. That thought hurt almost as much as the email. Sleep never came back. Morning arrived through the blinds, painting thin lines of sunlight across the living room. Claire stretched, blinked at the laptop, then smiled when she noticed me making coffee. You woke up early. I never really slept. She rubbed her eyes. Rough night. I almost laughed. She had no idea. No worse than yesterday. She stood beside me and reached for a mug. Things will get better. When were you planning to tell me? Her hand stopped halfway. Tell you what. The promotion. The room turned still. A long breath escaped her lips. You saw the email. I did. I wanted to wait. For what? The right time. I leaned against the counter. You accepted it. I worked hard for it. I know. You should be happy for me. I would have been. The words came out quietly. If I had heard them from you. She folded her arms. I didn't want to tell you while you were stressed. I lost my job. I know. And you accepted a job in another city. I know. Next month. Another pause. I wasn't hiding it forever, but you were hiding it. Her eyes drifted toward the window. I just needed a little time. That answer settled inside me like a stone. Not because it was cruel, because it sounded reasonable enough to excuse something deeply unfair. She stepped closer. We'll figure it out. Of course. You already made the biggest decision. Her shoulders lowered. Ethan, I wasn't even part of it. She reached for my hand. My fingers stayed around the coffee mug. She slowly pulled her hand back. I have to get ready. Those words ended the conversation. Not the problem, just the conversation. The apartment felt strangely quiet after she left. I opened my laptop. My resume hadn't been updated in almost 3 years. Back then, I stopped chasing better jobs because Claire wanted stability while she focused on climbing the corporate ladder. I'll move later. I'll wait another year. I can always do it after your promotion. Those promises echoed through my head. Every one of them belonged to me. Every sacrifice had sounded temporary. Years later, they had become my normal life. A photo notification appeared on my screen. 3 years ago today, Claire and I stood in front of a mountain cabin. That vacation never happened. Her manager scheduled an emergency meeting. I canceled the trip without complaining. The refund disappeared. The memories never existed. Another memory followed. My 28th birthday. She called 30 minutes before dinner. I'm so sorry. The client changed the schedule. I spent that evening eating takeout alone, still smiling when she finally came home after midnight. Another. The design competition I dreamed about entering. The deadline landed during one of Claire's business trips. She worried about leaving her apartment empty. I stayed behind, missed the competition, told myself there would always be another chance. There wasn't. A knock broke my thoughts. Noah walked in carrying 2 sandwiches. You skipped breakfast. You can tell. You forget to shave whenever life punches you. That earned a small smile. He handed me lunch. So, I nodded. She accepted a promotion. He stayed quiet. In Chicago. His eyebrows rose. Did she tell you? No. Another silence. This one felt different. Not empty. Patient. Finally, he leaned forward. Answer one question. I'm listening. What has Claire given up for you? The sandwich remained untouched in my hands. My mind searched. A vacation? No. A promotion? Never. A dream? Nothing came. Minutes passed. Noah didn't rush me. The answer arrived anyway. I don't know. He nodded slowly. That's what I thought. It isn't that simple. Then make it simple. He pointed toward me. Name one thing. Again I searched. Again nothing appeared. The truth scared me more than losing my job. Love had become something only one person carried. I kept thinking patience was enough. Noah sighed. Patience keeps relationships alive. He stood. It shouldn't bury one person. Before leaving, he stopped near the door. Protecting Claire became your full-time job. His eyes met mine. When was the last time you protected yourself? The apartment felt even quieter after he left. I opened my portfolio. Old projects. New ideas. Skills I had forgotten I even had. For hours I worked. Updated files. Changed layouts. Sent applications. Each click felt small. Together, they sounded like footsteps moving somewhere new. My phone buzzed. Claire, dinner tonight? I stared at the message. Normally, I answered within seconds. Today, I placed the phone face down. Not out of anger, because I finally had something else to finish. By evening, I had applied to 6 companies. An interview invitation arrived almost immediately. Friday, 10 in the morning. I printed directions, organized my work samples, placed everything inside a clean black folder. It rested on the table where our travel brochures used to sit. Paris, Seattle, Italy, dreams we kept postponing. One by one, I removed them from the drawer. Then I opened our shared calendar. Anniversary dinner. Canceled. Weekend getaway. Canceled months ago. Family picnic. Never happened. One reminder after another disappeared from the screen. The calendar slowly became empty. Almost honest. My thumb hovered over an old message. I'm sorry if I overreacted yesterday. I had typed it without thinking. Like every apology before. Even when I wasn't the one who caused the pain. I read it once. Then deleted the draft. No replacement. No explanation. Nothing. Claire came home carrying shopping bags. Her mood seemed lighter. Good news. She placed several gift boxes on the couch. The company is holding a celebration Friday night. I nodded. Sounds important. It is. She smiled. I need your help setting everything up. I can't. The smile faded. What do you mean? I have an interview. Reschedule it. The answer came so quickly that it almost sounded automatic. My manager already expects us there by 4. I'll still be at the interview. You can move it. I won't. She blinked. What? I won't move it. The word surprised both of us. She stared for several seconds. You've always worked around my schedule. I know. This is different. It is. She stepped closer. This celebration matters. So does my future. A strange expression crossed her face. Not anger. Confusion. As if she had never imagined I might choose something before choosing her. You're really serious. Yes. She picked up one of the shopping bags and walked into the bedroom without another word. The door stayed half open. That tiny gap somehow felt wider than ever. Later that evening, I received another message. Claire wanted me to stop by the hotel ballroom after my interview to meet everyone. It'll mean a lot. I read the text twice. Maybe it was a small step. Maybe she wanted me beside her. Maybe things could still change. I decided to go. I had no idea the hardest part of the night was still waiting. Standing only a few feet away, I watched Claire smile at a group of executives. She raised her glass toward a confident man beside her. I couldn't have reached this moment without the person who's always been there for me. The room filled with applause. Everyone turned toward him. No one even noticed I was standing there. The applause around Claire faded into meaningless noise. My hands stayed in my pockets while people congratulated the executive standing beside her. He smiled with confidence. She smiled with pride. Neither of them noticed me quietly turning toward the exit. The ballroom doors closed behind me. The cool night air hit my face. Only then did I breathe normally again. I wasn't angry. Anger would have been easier. What settled inside me was something much heavier. Acceptance. The drive home felt endless. Every red light gave me another chance to change my mind. Every green light pushed me closer to a decision I had been avoiding for years. When I unlocked the apartment, everything looked exactly the same. The couch, the dining table, the bookshelf, the picture frame I had straightened only days earlier. Nothing had changed, except me. I walked into the bedroom and pulled my old suitcase from the closet. Dust covered the handle. The last time I used it, Claire had canceled our vacation because another meeting suddenly became too important. Back then, I unpacked without complaint. This time I folded my shirts with steady hands. Jeans, shoes, my laptop, sketchbooks, the small coffee mug from my old office. Piece by piece, my life stopped belonging to this apartment. I opened the closet again. Most of the space belonged to Claire. Designer dresses, business suits, boxes of expensive shoes. My side looked almost empty. That realization hurt in an unexpected way. I had taken up so little space in her world. The photograph from the beach still hung above the dresser. I climbed onto a chair and lifted it from the wall. The nail stayed behind. A tiny hole, small enough to ignore, big enough to prove something had once been there. The frame rested in my hands. Two smiling people stared back at me. One of them no longer existed. I wrapped the picture in a sweater and placed it inside the suitcase. Not because I wanted the memory, because I wasn't ready to throw away 5 years of my life. Not yet. The apartment key rested beside my wallet. I picked it up, rolled it across my fingers. It had opened this door thousands of times. Soon it would open it for the last time. My phone buzzed. Claire, how did you leave without saying goodbye? Another message followed. Everyone kept asking where you went. Then another. You're being childish. I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Words came easily, then disappeared. I erased every sentence. Finally, I typed only one. Love cannot survive where respect disappears. I'm leaving. I hope one day you understand why. I pressed send. Before I could second-guess myself, I opened my contacts. Claire Bennett. Delete. The screen waited for confirmation. One tap. The name vanished. The silence afterward felt strangely peaceful. I sat at the dining table with a blank sheet of paper. Some things deserved more than a text message. Dear Claire, I waited a long time for you to notice I was disappearing. You noticed my schedule. You noticed my mistakes. You noticed when I wasn't useful. But you stopped noticing me. I kept believing that if I loved you enough, one day you would meet me halfway. Instead, I walked the whole distance alone. This isn't punishment. It isn't revenge. I'm leaving because staying has taught me to forget my own worth. I truly hope your dreams come true. I just won't be standing beside them anymore. Ethan. I folded the letter, placed it beneath the apartment key. One last look around. The cold dinner table, the bookshelf, the empty space where our photograph had been. Then I walked away. The lock clicked behind me. This time I didn't turn around. The new apartment was less than half the size. Old wooden floors, one bedroom, a tiny kitchen. The paint needed work. The windows rattled when trucks drove past. It wasn't impressive, but every corner belonged to me. 3 days later, my interview turned into a job offer. The design studio wasn't famous. The salary was lower than my old one. Still, the creative director smiled after reviewing my portfolio. We don't need perfect. He handed me the contract. We need someone who still cares. Those words stayed with me all afternoon. Someone who still cares. Maybe that described me better than I realized. Life slowly found a new rhythm. Work, coffee, sketches, late-night walks. No waiting for unanswered conversations. No checking whether Claire had time for me. No measuring my value against her calendar. One afternoon, my shoulder began hurting again. The old sports injury I had ignored for years finally demanded attention. The clinic smelled like clean towels and fresh paint. A woman with kind eyes smiled from across the room. "You must be Ethan." I nodded. "I'm Emma." She extended a hand. "I'll be helping with your therapy." Her handshake was gentle, not weak, comforting. Inside the treatment room, she studied my file. "This shoulder has bothered you for a while." I kept putting it off. She smiled knowingly. "You seem like someone who puts a lot of things off." The comment caught me off guard. "Is it that obvious?" "You apologized 3 times before sitting down." Heat rushed into my face. "I guess I did." Emma laughed softly. "You don't have to apologize for existing." Such a simple sentence, yet landed somewhere deep inside me. During the exercises, she watched carefully. "Does this hurt?" "A little." "We'll stop there. No need to push through pain." I almost answered automatically. "I'm fine." Instead, I told the truth. "Yeah, it hurts." She nodded. "Then we'll heal it." No speeches, no pretending, just kindness. I left the clinic carrying more than exercise instructions. I carried proof that caring didn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes it sounded like someone noticing pain before asking for anything in return. Meanwhile, my phone stayed quiet. Block numbers couldn't reach me. Unknown emails went unread. Days became weeks. At work, my confidence slowly returned. Clients praised my ideas. Coworkers invited me to lunch. My laughter stopped sounding forced. One evening, Noah dropped by my apartment. "You look different." "Better or worse?" "Like someone finally sleeping through the night." I smiled. "I think I am." He glanced around my small living room. "No regrets." I looked toward the window. "I miss who I thought she was." A slow breath escaped. "I don't miss who she became." Across town, I had no idea Claire was unlocking the apartment door, expecting another argument. Instead, she stepped into quiet rooms. My clothes were gone. The closet stood half empty. The beach photograph had disappeared from the wall. Only the key and my folded letter waited on the dining table. Weeks later, while leaving work, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Something made me answer. A shaky breath filled the line. Then a voice I hadn't heard since I walked away. "Ethan." Another breath. This one broke into quiet sobs. For the first time since I had known Claire, I heard her crying. The sound of Claire crying stayed with me long after the call ended. I hadn't hung up out of anger. I simply listened until her breathing settled. Then the line went quiet. Neither of us found the words. The call ended without a goodbye. I slipped my phone back into my pocket and walked home. The evening air felt cool against my face. Months ago, I would have turned around immediately. I would have rushed to comfort her. Now my feet kept moving, not because I stopped caring, because I had finally learned that caring about someone should never mean abandoning myself. The next morning, work helped clear my thoughts. Sketches covered my desk. My manager stopped beside me with a smile. "The client loved your first concept." "Really? They want you leading the whole project." A few months earlier, I would have doubted myself. This time I accepted the folder with steady hands. "I won't let you down." "You already haven't." Simple words. Still, they carried more encouragement than I had received in years. Around lunchtime, someone at the front desk called my name. "There's a visitor." I stepped into the lobby. Claire stood near the entrance, holding a small paper bag. Dark circles rested beneath her eyes. The confidence she once carried into every room had faded. "You found me." It wasn't easy. A weak smile appeared. "You changed apartments. Changed your number. You still found me." I needed to. She held out the bag. "I brought your favorite coffee." I looked at the cup, then back at her. "You remembered." I always remembered. The answer almost made me smile. Almost. She noticed my silence and lowered her hand. "I know I don't deserve much time. You don't need to explain everything here. I just wanted to see your face." "You've seen it." Another long pause stretched between us. "I miss you." The words floated through the quiet lobby. Several coworkers walked past without paying attention. I kept my voice calm. "I hope you find peace, Claire." Her shoulders fell. "That's all. I have to get back to work." She nodded slowly. Before turning away, She placed the paper bag on a nearby chair. I'll keep trying. I watched her leave. The coffee stayed untouched. By the end of the week, letters began arriving. One, then another, then another. Every envelope carried my name in familiar handwriting. I never threw them away. I simply stacked them inside a kitchen drawer. Unread. Not because I hated her, because I already knew what they probably contained. Regret always writes beautiful letters. It rarely changes the past. Days later, Noah visited after work. He noticed a growing pile. You haven't opened a single one. No. Afraid. I rested against the counter. A little. Why? What if reading them reminds me of the man who accepted too little? He nodded. Then don't read them yet. The drawer closed. So we did the conversation. Life continued moving. My shoulder therapy became easier every week. Emma adjusted one of the exercise bands and stepped back. Better. A lot. She smiled. You're healing faster than I expected. The shoulder? She laughed softly. Not only that. I sat on the edge of the treatment table. Claire came to my office. I guess something happened. Ow! You apologized 4 times while walking in. I shook my head with a quiet laugh. I'm trying to stop doing that. You are. She handed me a bottle of water. Guilt can be tricky. It makes you believe kindness means returning to pain. Her words settled deep inside me. I still care about her. I believe you. Emma folded a towel carefully. But caring doesn't mean reopening every wound. I stared at the floor. What if walking away makes me the bad person? She thought for a moment. If someone keeps touching a hot stove, do you blame the stove for burning them? No. You stepped away from the fire. She smiled gently. That isn't cruelty. I carried those words with me all week. Then another unknown number called. This time I answered immediately. It wasn't easy reaching you. Claire sounded exhausted. I'm at the hospital. Fear rushed through me before I could stop it. What happened? Victor collapsed during a business meeting. Is he okay? They're running tests. Her voice cracked. I've been here since yesterday. I leaned against the wall outside my apartment. Do you have someone with you? No. What about your coworkers? They left. And Victor's friends? They had meetings. The bitter laugh that followed barely sounded like her. I guess everyone was busy. The sentence reminded me of another evening. Another apartment. Another person choosing work over someone who needed comfort. I closed my eyes. I'm sorry. So am I. She took a slow breath. I finally understand. What do you mean? What it feels like. I stayed quiet, waiting for someone to stay. Another silence. Then she whispered, nobody did. A few days later, an envelope arrived without a stamp. Someone had slipped it under my apartment door. Inside was only one photograph. A small velvet ring box rested in Claire's open hands. Behind it stood the Chicago skyline. A folded note accompanied the picture. I bought this the week I accepted my promotion. I planned to ask you to marry me after I settled everything. I believed your love would wait forever. The ring remained inside the box. Unused. Untouched. I sat with the photograph for a long time. Not because it changed anything. Because it revealed how 2 people could dream about the same future while destroying it in completely different ways. The following afternoon, I ran into Margaret, the elderly neighbor from my building. She noticed the letter in my hands. Heavy paper. Heavier memories. She smiled kindly. Sometimes people arrive with flowers after the garden has already died. I nodded. I think that's true. Forgiveness grows. She rested one hand on my arm. Trust doesn't always grow back with it. That evening, another letter appeared. This one was different. Only one sentence covered the page. Please meet me one last time before I leave the city forever. At the bottom, Claire had added a final line. There are things you deserve to know, and this time I won't hide the truth. The letter stayed on my kitchen table all night. I read the single sentence again before leaving for work. One final meeting. One whole truth. Months earlier, I would have run to her without thinking. Now, I stood in front of the mirror, straightened my jacket, and asked myself one question. Will this give me peace? The answer wasn't clear. Still, I went. We agreed to meet at the small riverside park where we once shared coffee on quiet Sunday mornings. The benches were the same. The river still moved without rushing. Life had continued, even while ours had fallen apart. Claire arrived carrying a small folder. She looked thinner. The sharp confidence that once surrounded her had disappeared. When our eyes met, neither of us rushed forward. The distance between us felt honest. "Thank you for coming." I nodded. "You wanted to tell me the truth. I owe you that." She sat on the bench. I stayed standing for another moment before taking the opposite end. A cool breeze passed between us. Her fingers rested on the folder. "I spent my whole life trying to prove something. To your family." She gave a slow nod. "My father believed success was the only thing that mattered." A quiet laugh escaped. If I brought home perfect grades, he asked why they weren't higher. She stared at the river. When I started working, Victor became the example I had to chase. The successful one. The untouchable one. She smiled sadly. I thought if I became successful enough, maybe they would finally see me. I listened without interrupting. I convinced myself that love could wait. Her voice grew softer. "You always understood." Another pause. "You always forgave me." She looked down at her hands. "So I believed you always would." The words hurt. Not because they were new, because they were true. "I thought your patience had no ending." A tear slipped down her cheek. I never imagined patience could run out. I let the silence settle before speaking. "You didn't lose me in one night." She closed her eyes. "I know. It wasn't the promotion. I know. It wasn't that speech." Her shoulders trembled. "I know. It was every small moment." The memories returned one after another. The cold dinner. The canceled birthdays. The empty promises. The unread feelings. When I needed comfort, work came first. She covered her face for a moment. "When you needed honesty, I chose convenience." I nodded slowly. "When you needed me." She couldn't finish. The unfinished sentence said enough. "I finally understand something." She looked toward me. "Neglect doesn't leave bruises." Her voice almost disappeared. "It slowly teaches someone they don't matter." I felt my throat tighten. That was exactly what I had lived through. Not screaming, not betrayal, just countless quiet moments that slowly erased my place in her life. She reached into the folder. "I wanted to show you something." Inside rested several documents. Apartment transfer papers. "My lease ends this week." She gave me a faint smile. "I'm leaving Chicago's offer behind, too. You don't have to explain your career anymore." "I'm not." She shook her head gently. "I'm explaining my choice." She signed the last page. I finally stopped chasing people who only love my success. I watched the ink dry. "I hope that brings you peace." "I hope so, too." She reached into her bag one last time. The small velvet ring box rested in her palm. I carried this everywhere. She opened it. The ring caught the afternoon sunlight. I really believed I was building a future for us. "You were." Her eyes met mine, just not one I was invited into. Another tear rolled down her face. "I can't change that." "No, I wish I could." "I know." The conversation became quiet again. Not uncomfortable, simply finished. She stood and walked toward the edge of the river. The ring remained in her hand. For several seconds, she held it tightly. Then her fingers opened. A small silver circle disappeared beneath the moving water. Neither of us watched it for long. Some things weren't meant to be recovered. She turned back. "I don't expect another chance." "I'm glad." The answer surprised her. Not because it was cruel, because it was calm. "You deserve honesty." I stepped closer. "I forgive you." Hope briefly appeared across her face. Then I continued. "But forgiveness isn't the same as going back." The hope quietly faded. "I understand. I don't want to carry anger into my future." She nodded. "And I don't want you carrying guilt into yours." A gentle smile appeared through her tears. "You really did become stronger." I thought about that. I became someone who finally protected himself. She stepped forward. "May I hug you?" For a moment, I remembered the man who would have held on forever. That man had loved deeply. He had also forgotten himself. I opened my arms. The hug was warm, grateful, short. When we stepped apart, neither of us tried to hold the moment in place. Some endings deserve kindness instead of another promise. "Goodbye, Ethan." "Goodbye, Claire." She walked away without looking back. This time, I didn't wait for her to turn around. Months passed. Work became more than a paycheck. My designs won awards. The studio expanded. One afternoon, my manager handed me a promotion. "You earned every bit of this." Driving home, I realized something. Success felt different when I didn't need it to prove my worth. My shoulder healed completely. Emma still smiled every time I walked into the clinic, even after my appointments had ended. Eventually, we started meeting outside those walls. Coffee turned into long walks. Long walks became dinners. Nothing rushed. Nothing demanded. Nothing felt earned through suffering. One evening, she reached across the table and took my hand. "You've stopped apologizing." I laughed. I didn't even notice. I did. Her smile carried the quiet warmth I had searched for years to find. "You finally believe you're worth staying with." Those words stayed with me. Not because someone else believed them, because I finally did. Back in my apartment, I opened my phone before bed. No unread messages. No drafts waiting to be deleted. No conversations begging for another chance. Only peace. Real peace. Weeks later, I stood by the same river where Claire and I had said goodbye. The sunrise painted the water with soft gold. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply. Losing Claire had once felt like losing my future. Now I understood the truth. Losing her didn't ruin my life. Staying with someone who could watch me fall apart without reaching for my hand would have. The silence around me no longer felt empty. It belonged to me. It wasn't built from loneliness. It was built from self-respect. The man she watched break no longer existed. I built someone stronger from the pieces.